unkind. So hush not, child, and don't cry. Got my collegiate coach, Coach John Walton Smith. We call him Smitty. Coach Smith, you're born August 5th, 1950.
Yes, sir.
What high school did you go to?
Fremont.
Fremont High School. Now, my first
Yeah,
question
that's right.
for you is, where did you grow up
In LA.
in LA? You remember
Yeah, right there. I was born on 1166 East 69th Street between Central and Hooper.
wow. You
Uh,
okay, this is
used to
better.
be the old Goodyear plant across the street. And my dad and my mom worked at another plant around the corner off of Stanford Avenue off of Gage.
Wow, okay. Were you a church going kid or
Oh yeah.
were your
Oh
parents
yeah, yeah.
disciplined?
Oh yeah. You every Sunday you put on your blue suit, your white shirt, starched of course and ironed.
Hmm.
You had two ties, one black, one black, one navy blue.
Hmm.
You had one shirt, you had black shoes, black socks, and we had to be at the church early
Uh-huh.
because I was an usher. My brother was in the choir. So was my sister. My dad was a deacon, and my
Okay.
mom sat in the front row.
Yeah, this is so funny. I'm having this conversation with you because what you just explained was kind of literally how I grew up in Watts.
Yeah.
My stepfather was a deacon. I
Um,
and I wasn't an usher or anything like, but the fact that he was a deacon, we up bright-eyed, bushy-tailed Sunday
oh,
morning here
yeah.
at church.
But you know, it's funny. To add on that, my church was Martin Temple on
Mhm.
99th and Avalon.
Okay, Martin Temple. Wow.
Uh-huh.
Okay, now I got another question. What was the makeup of the neighborhood that you grew up in? And the reason why I asked you that question because my older brother, who was born in 1957, he's about 7 years younger than you. Uh,
Right.
I remember having a conversation with him. He was telling me the makeup of when he was growing up before I was even born. They had a lot.
Right.
There was a lot of immigrants there.
Oh,
He said his best friend was a Korean fellow, so he hung out with him as a youth. What was the makeup of your street in LA at the time, back in the 50s? Well, I would say yeah, in the 50s and 60s.
yeah, 50s. It's funny you mention that because my next door neighbors were Mexicans.
Hmm.
We used to play with them um, because, after the war, people influx there. So the Goodyear plant employed a whole lot of people. And there was Mexicans across the street. Um, Even the neighborhood that I grew up in after I left in 1957, we went over to 7922 Morton Avenue, which was right off the Alameda corridor.
Hmm.
And there were Cuban, Mexicans, and Indians that lived down on our block. I think that, and there was one white lady. Her name was Mrs. Castoria. She was at the front and there was a vacant lot across the street from her, which we used to go play in.
Hmm.
But I think that we were two black families that moved into this neighborhood. And I'm not far from Huntington Park. So Huntington Park
Exactly.
was all Hispanic. So
Uh-huh.
I had a lot of Hispanic. There was a Catholic church around the corner. Um, I had a lot of I never knew a black area. It was always mixed. I always mixed around with different races of people.
Right. That's amazing. Um, Were there any car clubs when you were growing up as a youngster that you may have been involved in or not? Say, for instance, car clubs, art clubs, sports clubs. What would you do when you were a youngster? Were you a Boy Scout or anything like that?
I was a Cub Scout.
You're a Cub Scout.
Me, James Butts, and Steve Lang. We
And
were,
wow. Okay,
yeah,
that was a follow-up question I was gonna have about Coach Lang, but
yeah.
about how far y'all go back. But
Oh, we go back to Cub Scouts, Jimmy Butts, Jimmy. We go back. His mother was our den mother,
okay.
and then when I went to junior high school, I had to walk by his house through this tunnel with the tracks,
Mhm.
and he lived on 83rd, and I lived on 79th. So I had to walk over. He lives down the street from Drew Junior High School.
Right? I know exactly
So
what it is.
yeah, and Steve wasn't. I met Steve at the park and rec at
The Roosevelt Park?
Roosevelt Park.
I know the
Yeah,
neighborhood. That's what they were there.
yeah. And that's where I met Steve when I was like 12. He was high jumping in the sawdust pit, and I was long jumping in the sawdust pit.
Wow.
And Jimmy and actually, we went to church occasionally.
Hmm.
So yeah, and as I moved closer to more moving toward the west side, that's where a lot of the blacks were congregated at.
Mm.
Um, and I was never on that side. I was always on the side
So,
with the Chicanos.
so the east side of Los Angeles was mostly, I would just say, immigrant families, just minority families, really all living together. And you say
Yeah,
when you went further west, that's when you saw more African American people. Uh,
right.
Interesting. That's very.
Yeah,
That was
it,
the makeup of I guess growing up in that area with myself as well.
right.
So check this out, Coach. Growing up in LA. So I have a question for you. So you literally turned 15 years old 7 days before the Watts riots.
Oh man.
Can you give me your thoughts of the atmosphere in the city at that time? Like I said, you just turned 15, like literally less than
Yeah.
before the riot.
It's funny because they had the rights where they turned over the car. They completely just everybody got in the street. It was hot that summer too.
Mhm.
And they turned over the cars and I think it was two police cars. And then everybody dispersed. But see, they had people coming in, snipers, that um, exacerbated this whole thing.
Mhm.
So my dad took us to, I had an uncle that was in the Navy. So we went down to San Diego. And when we were going to San Diego, the National Guard were coming into the city.
Mhm.
And my dad looked and said, "Oh, here they go." Because Dad knew when there was an uprising, because he was in the military.
Mhm.
We went down, played around, went to um,
This is why you're in San Diego?
yeah, we were in San Diego. We went to the zoo
Mhm.
and so forth. So later on, we were coming back, and we were coming back, and I looked up and I said, "Dad, look at the city; it's all lit up." You could see it from after we got around Carson, around Avalon,
Mhm.
which
Mhm.
Carson didn't exist at that time.
Right. You on
But it
Wilmington?
was
Oh, you got. Oh, you was on Avalon, so you're on the other side, going north.
it, we were coming back into the city, and
Mhm.
we were on the 405.
405, right, coming down.
Yeah, and I looked up and I said, "Dad, wow." So by the time we got home, there was basically a lockdown,
Mhm.
and I remember my father said, and everybody started looting. There was white front down the street. They broke in and that burned that down, burned down all the shops on Broadway.
Mhm.
And my dad said, if I catch any of you in there bringing home stuff, you ain't got to worry about the police because
Old school.
before they get there, and then I'm gonna taking you to jail. I
Mhm.
said, yes, sir, Dad.
Wow, that's intense. Um, so around that time, what was the community like? I mean, prior to the violence, but as far as the older teenagers in your group, were
Hmm.
they members of the Black Panther Party or the US organizations? Those type of politically informed groups?
Well, I wasn't aware at 15 because I just matriculated to high school.
Hmm.
I don't think those groups had that much momentum because it was still kind of like, you had the Vietnam War, you had all of this stuff happening at the same time. And I think a lot of us were more worried about going to the war than worried about the riots.
Exactly. That was my next question because I know 3 years later, um, we're talking 1968. Now you're 18 years old, right?
Yeah. And
And
guess what? My draft number was
yeah,
54.
oh wow. And that's because I was going to ask you this question: were you drafted? And like it was kind of the two swings question. First of all,
Right.
where your interest in college came from, obviously. Were you recruited by UCLA? And what year was this? This was around when? Or
Um,
were you recruited by UCLA or you
yeah,
just
yeah, I was. I had a teacher, a math teacher named Winston Doby. I don't know if you met Miss. Yeah, you
come
met
on
Doby.
now.
Yeah,
Come on now.
that was my
The Winston Doby?
the
UCLA?
Winston Doby.
That was
Yeah,
that was your teacher?
yeah, my math teacher.
Wow. Yeah, Mr.
And
Doby.
one day I um, see, I ran 48.5 when I was 15,
Hmm.
and he told me, and I got with the wrong crowd and so forth. He told me, he said, "Look, UCLA is interested in you.
Hmm.
Get out the hallways, stop hanging with them booger heads."
Okay.
And yeah, and he made me realize, wow, okay,
There's a life beyond this.
yeah. So
Do you
I
remember some of these
within
booger heads you were hanging out with?
huh?
Do you remember any of these particular booger heads you were hanging out with that he was telling you to kind of stay away from by name or by nickname?
Well, well, I knew them, but my dad didn't allow me to hang out with him because he was from Chicago, and he said gangs are nothing. He said you don't hang with no gangs, and I'm the gang leader in this
He saw the
household.
proliferation of the gang thing when after he left Chicago, seeing the makeup of there, transitioning to Los Angeles before all that
Yeah,
even jumped off.
yeah. Plus, him being in the Navy and having like 18-inch biceps, I kind of listened to my father. And um, but when I got to UCLA, because I was on the other side, um, I had to walk like at Alameda, and then you got to go to San Pedro. That's like 2.5 miles.
That's a
So
long trek.
that
Because
that
that's where
was
the transit system started on San Pedro.
no, yeah, but see, the street that I was walking down, they do.
Okay.
I lived. Florence was to the north of us.
Hmm.
Manchester was to the south of us.
Up
We
above.
lived in the middle, equal distance. By the time I would have walked either way, I could have been almost halfway the way I walked. I could have almost been to school. And
Hmm.
then they didn't drop you off in front of school. Now you had to walk from the bus to end. I'm like, oh no, I'm walking. Books in hand. Sometime when I was playing JV football, you had your stuff on your shoulder,
Yeah.
and
So you were
so,
a mental
but I
school
had a
walking kid.
straight path to get there. So I walked to school and I walked, but I didn't stop
Hmm.
because if you stop and you too late, what boy, where you been? But I had to walk by Roosevelt Park.
Hmm.
So that basically was my place of where I went and recreate.
Right. They had the swimming pool there. Well, did they have the pool there at the time, or they just had the baseball field? Did
Well,
you
both. But guess who was my who taught me to swim, and
don't
I
say
made
Roger
me
Mosley. Don't say
and
Roger Mosley.
made
Who was it?
made me. joined the swim team? Roger Mosley.
Roger Mosley. That's funny because when this is the crazy thing about it, right? That's when you were how old?
Let's see, we were over there. I was about 11, 12, like
11, 12.
62, 61.
John, when I moved back to Watts from Compton, I
Yeah.
I literally was in a, a training program at Roosevelt Park. I'm living on 107, right across from the towers.
Ooh, yeah. Yeah. You
And
take the red car?
Mr. Mosley used to pick me up and
Oh,
drive me back to Watts because you know that distance between Roosevelt Park and the Watts Towers, all the different little hoods and sets that
oh,
make
yeah,
up
yeah.
going up through there mouth of Manchester. We used to load up in a white minivan. The same thing he was supporting you back in your era. He was doing the
Right.
exact same thing for me when I was in middle school at Markham
Oh,
Junior High School.
Marvin Jr. Oh,
He would
yeah.
drive me back and forth because I went to church on 83rd Street. I think well, I would say Elm, but right off it was called Holy Prayer Mission, right off of Manchester on 83rd Street, little side street, little
Oh, that was over in James Butts' house.
right up in there. And it's just I look at the similarities and the parallelisms, I guess you would say, between you growing up in your era in Los Angeles that I mimic pretty much seemingly what you went through. I pretty much went through the same, navigating the city, trying to get from point A to point B, trying not to get in trouble. Uh, and I find that the irony, or not the irony, but the similarity of it being how close our the path of our lives have taken us not knowing, and I have not even have that connection at that particular period in time.
You,
What
you,
what was well, say I'm going back to 1968. You're 18 years old.
I was 18.
Uh, you were still in high school, correct? Or you just that summer you were just
I
finished?
was graduating. I was a senior year.
Hmm.
But I graduated at 17 because my birthday was in August.
Yes.
Yeah. So I started getting used to like stepping away from the South Central area,
Hmm.
and I started moving over to Westwood.
Right. Who were your sporting heroes when you were a youngster? Who were the guys you idolized growing up?
Well, I knew of Jackie Robinson
Hmm.
because he's right up in Pasadena
Hmm.
and so forth. So he was a legend. Jesse Owens was everybody's. Uh, um, but my dad used to watch the Tiger Bells, so I knew of Wilma Rudolph, Ryan Matthias, Edith McGuire, um, and all of those. And that's when Afro American females they didn't have any league or anything. So
Hmm.
all of them matriculated to Tennessee. It was Tennessee A&M at that time. They turned into Tennessee State.
Sioux State.
Um, when I was at Drew Junior High School, to give you, there was a guy who came in, and this is funny, and this hooked me. And he said he was from he went to Compton,
Hmm.
and he said he went to SC, and he was coming back getting his degree. So we were at Drew Junior High School. And so he said he was the gold medalist
Who
and
was
the
it?
world
Yours?
record holder for, no, you know the name, for the high jump. And we said, who? You know how a bunch of us are, right? And his name was Charlie Dumas.
Charlie Dumas. That's right. Definitely.
Uh, and he said he had a gold medal. We said, oh, come on now.
So he went up to Drew Middle School to
Yeah,
visit the students, and you were having to be there. Did he bring the medal with him, or he just discussed?
well, I'm getting that to you. So we were all sitting there. He brought the medal uh, to school.
And this is from when
And
he was
he
competed in 60, what year? Was 64, 65,
about
60,
60, no, it was early in there. It was like
home,
60,
home,
62,
right? Rome.
63, 62.
Okay.
Hmm?
And so he
Yeah,
got
it
the
was
medal in
wrong.
60.
Rome was in 60.
Right. And
Yeah,
he won in 60, correct?
yeah.
Okay.
and he was the first man over 7 feet. That
Mm,
was another one. I'm like, "Hey, man, you ain't got no gold medal or nothing." He brought that. Uh, I looked at that. It hooked me. It hooked me. I'm like, I said, that's what I want.
uh-huh.
And my whole evolution from that point on was focused on that. Whatever I had to do to get to that point, I was going to do it. And I knew that, you and I both know we were around rock houses, drugs. Some of my best friends, like
Hmm.
Tukey and them, and all of these guys. I knew the Slauson gang, I knew the Watts gang, I knew the Delphicans, I knew the businessmen.
Bishops
I knew,
and
yeah, I knew
all.
that whole crew. But my dad said, no, if you want to go what you say you want to do, that's not the way. That's the way in the Hoot Scout. And I
Like
said,
that.
so I uh, I started not hanging around a lot of people, and I was inspired. Like, and another thing, being around Roger at Roosevelt Park, he kept you straight.
Hmm.
You know, we were lifeguards. One rule was you could not mess with any of the girls in the water
Right.
because he would jump in there and drown you.
Yeah, Mr.
Yeah,
Big Play.
and some of the guys would come in and start playing around,
Hmm.
and Roger would look at us, and we would look up at him. He said, "Get him," and we would try to drown these dudes because he never allowed any black man to disrespect
Just,
not only black women but women. Period.
hmm.
And that was so important because when a man respects the opposite sex, he's really empowered.
Hmm.
And you because I had two sisters, so I grew up, and you had sisters as well, and and we had one bathroom. So me and my brother, we watered a lot of trees in the backyard. My dad said, "No, women, that president, get out of here.
Yeah, go find something to do.
You can stand up, they can't get out of there."
Okay, prior to you getting to UCLA, what were the things that you did other than, what are the things that you did, uh, and other than playing sports? Because, sports is obviously a microcosm of what we're going through in our society at times. What other things that you do? You went to church, obviously. You
Just
played,
don't say that.
you played football. Um, you got these great friendships with these individuals. You named one of the biggest dope dealers in Los Angeles. Um,
Yeah,
and you saying you used to hang out with, well, one of them. I'm not saying you could have been multiple.
one of them.
You mentioned two.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Uh, what were the newspapers that you were reading back in the day? I grew up obviously
Oh,
stuck into the Sentinel growing up, and then
the Sentinel, the Watchtower.
uh,
um, what else did I read?
I
'Cause
think
remember Brad Pye Jr.?
that's right.
Yeah, yeah,
That's my
yeah.
guy.
Yeah, he wrote for the Sentinel. I got to know him.
Mhm.
He had his radio show, and he read. And I uh, I met a bunch of the people because we used to remember those little 45s,
Mhm.
and we used to go to Dolphins of Hollywood and go up there, and it was nice because here's a black-owned company selling multiple records.
Vinyl.
So a lot of us will hang out there. We I didn't go to clubs. We went to house parties.
Mhm.
Clubs were like, well, they didn't exist really back then because, and none of us had any money to afford it. I worked. I had a job where I was washing trucks. As a matter of fact, that's where where I learned how to drive, basically. 18 wheelers, because I was kind of long and skinny, so I could reach the pedals. Um, but I remember doing that. Yeah, we we had being in the Cub Scouts. That was another thing that I developed some male social bonding.
Mhm.
Of course, going up to the park, playing um, flag football,
Did you
a little
travel
bit
to
of
different parks
basketball.
around the county? Did you like Roosevelt Park, Wilson Park,
What's Willowbrook?
Yeah, Willowbrook? Uh,
Um,
did you
what's
basically did you go throughout South Central LA as well as Compton in that I guess that's circumference?
yeah, and the thing that I know, I played baseball, so I was a pitcher. So we wind up going to a lot of different white neighborhoods and playing baseball. The other thing is, Roger made sure that we would swim, but some of us couldn't afford Speedos. And so we just cut off Levi's and go into the white neighborhoods and wear their butts out. And they were like, who are all these black kids over here learn how to swim? Because Roger worked us.
Mhm.
He made us swim in the pool with the gray sweats.
Uh-huh.
He would heat the pool
Heavy,
up.
heavy,
Oh,
heavy.
oh, oh, yeah, you were. Oh, oh, oh. But when you came out of there, you were like a shark in the water.
Wow.
So,
It's amazing how you're having this conversation about Mr. Mosley, and I could have that same conversation 20 years later about Mr. Mosley, his impact that he
yeah,
had on me growing up in Watts. And
yeah,
oh,
he was like my big brother because I was like 10 or 11 and he was like 18 or 19. So he was always like about 10 years older than me, but wise.
mhm,
And you could see that he didn't mess around, but he knew all the thugs, but he was more of an intellectual,
mhm.
smart as a whip. Um, you would think that you could out talk him or outwit him. Nah, you were ill equipped.
He was sharp.
And oh yeah, even when as I was watching him, because Roger, you know how Roger was built. He was built. He was a black Tarzan, as far as I'm concerned. The
Yeah.
first person, Arnold Schwarzenegger, had nothing on him, you know, and he would display on his. He could dive. He could dive. He could twist. He could do all kinds of things. And all of us would sit on the side and watch him just. Oh man! And we had a 10-meter board there.
Mhm.
And so he would dive off of that. Somebody said, well, did you dive? I said, I dove to get away from him so I didn't have to go up there. You know how far 10 meters is? That 30 feet?
Nasty.
No, sir.
When I got when you mentioned your draft number, you said it was 54. Did you think you were going to you're going to be shipped off to Vietnam when you were 18 years old or 17 years old?
Uh, there was there were two things going through my mind. One, the social awareness about the injustice of our political system. But by that time, the Panthers came out, they made us aware. The US organization came out, they made us culturally aware. Um, and it evolved around Fremont because Maulana Karinga had
That's what.
his, uh, um, his social gathering stuff right across the street. A couple of friends of mine, like Ricky Ivy and all of them, they were impacted by him. Um, But we did not get involved in the violence of this. As a matter of fact, the uh, uh, Pookie, Apprentice Carter, and Elaine Brown.
That was my next question, John. You on it. I was going to say because in '69 you were at UCLA freshman.
Right, right.
And then in January they had that incident in Kirkhoff Hall. And my question was, did you know who Apprentice Carter was or Mr. Higgins, Mr. Huggins?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
we
Not
knew
Huggins.
each other. Yeah. And Elaine Brown, yeah, I was in the meeting in Campbell Hall. It was Campbell Hall where they got shot and killed.
And Campbell.
I was in the meeting and it was going over, and I had to leave because I had practice.
Hmm.
By the time I got back to Wayburn Hall, which is
Okay.
down in Westwood, I heard these sirens, and I'm like, "Wow, what happened?" And then I had to go to practice. So I had to walk across campus, and all of a sudden I saw police come in and so forth. So I hightailed it back to my dorm, and when I got back to my room, uh, you remember Judge Joe?
Mm-hmm.
Judge Joe had a, he was when we were
Go
all in
Brown?
John Murphy. Yep. Oh yeah, power to the peoples. I mean, he had a shotgun. I'm like, dude, you ain't gonna shoot nobody. And I snatched that gun out of his hand.
Well, Joe
And
Brown was in the dorms with a shotgun,
you know, well, we were off
or
campus,
just off camp oh yeah, at
but
UCLA with a shotgun.
yeah, yeah. I had one because I hunted a lot up there.
Mhm.
So I used to we get in my car and we would drive over to the valley, over to you know, where so I kept it in, I kept it under my bed and so forth. I'd have got busted there. We wouldn't be talking now.
At all, right?
But um, um, I saw the unrest
Mm-hmm.
and I saw how
How did that affect you as a freshman? I mean, were you a freshman or sophomore at the time? And that was a sixth class. You were a
um,
freshman.
I was a freshman.
Yeah.
Um, it didn't. Well, you know, I just came from that war-torn Watts riot.
I was about to say, because the individuals, or I would say those who were participating or caught up in the Watts riots themselves, uh, and was probably a voice for the people. You're talking about Bunchy Carter. Uh,
Right. It
he
was a sad moment.
uh,
It was a sad moment because
was that a
moving,
conversation they were having when you even went back into South Central LA? Because he was a
same
young man
thing.
that was from
Uh,
Smith and all that. He was
yeah, because when I when I went up to UCLA, first of all, it was a culture shock
going to
for
Westwood.
going to Westwood, and you weren't really wanted there.
Uh,
And they, matter of fact, I got arrested up there, um, having a, you know, those 8-track tape.
mhm.
My dad had bought it, and evidently it was stolen. And so they ran the serial number, and so they took me to Purdue, right down there,
Uh,
off Santa Monica, and I spent 7 days in jail until the school got me out,
really?
and my dad knew he had given me the tape, and he felt kind of bad, but I
Right.
was like, hey pops, you know that's how it goes.
You never got caught up in all the craziness growing up in the neighborhood. And now you in jail because of some pops game.
Right.